Hello and welcome to 264 Software Design. This is Lecture 2 and Lesson 5, and in this lesson, short lesson, we're going to look ahead to design patterns in C#. Okay, we know that this whole module is about design patterns, and we're working with C# early on in order to be able to understand the examples that we will encounter a little bit later, and to learn a new language and to review our object-oriented design skills and coding skills, of course, as well. So, for this particular lecture, we're going to look at a design pattern called a singleton. And we're going to look at how we can implement this using C#. So don't worry too much if you're not up to date with C# and object-oriented programming yet, or object-oriented design. You don't know a little bit about design patterns. I really want to give you the simplest one to give you a sense of where we're going and where we're going with all of this C# development and why we're doing it. And I also want you to start to think about the patterns and think about your designs early on. It also gives me an opportunity for me to review and introduce you some of UML and a few other aspects that that will be core to working with this course as we progress. Okay, so the main point to note is that we're going to be using C# as a way to implement design. It's not really about learning C# for the sake of learning that language and being good at it, but we really need to know about design patterns and how to implement them. So that when we write software, we want to be writing good software. We want to be using designs that work and have been proven to work. So the main point we're going to look at, the main pattern we're going to look at, is the singleton design pattern. And this falls within a set of patterns called the creational design pattern sets. And that's within the overall collection of the gang of 4 GOF design patterns in object-oriented design. Now, this gang of 4 include 4 authors, Gamma, Helm, Johnson, the Visitus, who wrote this definitive work called Design Patterns, Elements of Reusable Object-Oriented Software. 94, 95, round about then. So a good while ago now. But it was a software, it was a definitive software book that described engineering patterns using OO language. So in the first part of the book gave this comprehensive overview of what the capabilities of OO languages, and then there were 23 further chapters, and each one of these chapters discussed a classic design pattern in depth. So as a pattern, singleton is really one of the simplest designs because it's just got a single class. And the whole purpose of this pattern is to ensure that a class has one and only one instance. Okay, let me just go back to the gang of 4 for a second here. In lectures last week, somebody asked me about books for this module. Well, the classic book is this Design Patterns, Elements of Reusable or Object-Oriented Software. It's in our library. You can go to Maynooth Library, do a search, and find this. Now, it looks like we just have print copies, and we don't have a digital copy currently available. I mean, I know there are digital copies around. I've seen them, but there are some here that you can have a look at yourself. You might see or think that there is one online because it has the same title here, but it's by Kent Beck, and that's really just a review of this text. But if you search in the library on the discovery system, and then you'll be able to look at later down, you'll see this text called Head First Design Patterns, and this one is good. It's really, really good. It's a 2004. It's not C#, but again, it's about design patterns, and you'll be able to work with that. So it should be fine. But let's go back to this one here. So this singleton design pattern then is about a single class, okay? And we typically have lots of classes organizing patterns, but this is a nice one because it's just the one. So here we have a single class, and this is a UML class diagram. I created this UML class diagram in Markdown using Mermaid, which comes with Markdown Preview Enhanced package for either Atom or Visual Studio Code. I also redid it here using Plant UML description, which is also available within Markdown Preview Enhanced. But really what it's about is that we can get nice diagrams to describe a pattern, and I certainly recommend you using this if you have to design the UML. It'll save you installing all sorts of additional software and packages, and you can just code up your description of your class pretty much from the code descriptions that you have. So it's nice. So this pattern, okay, it just has an owner, which gives you a single instance to the singleton object. You'll notice it has a private constructor. It's got the minus in front of the constructor, and then we can have a method, a getter method called getInstance, which is public, and that gives you access to the instance that's created or held within the class. So the instance is a class variable, obviously, if you remember that from your Java. This is just it being rendered with a Plant UML. So, so what about the singleton then? So the singleton pattern ensures that you have that a class has only one instance in the program, provides a global point of access to it. It's a nice definition, really. And the singleton only allows a single instance of itself to be created and gives simple access to the instance. So that's nice. And they don't allow any parameters to be specified when creating an instance, because a second request of an instance with a different parameter could be problematic. So if the same instance could be accessed for all requests with the same parameter, then you have to use a factory pattern. And that's what's nice about software design. You know, you can look at where the pattern works and where it doesn't work. And if it doesn't work, you might need to use another pattern, and then that one will be described and understood. So I'd recommend, again, somebody in class asked me about books or notes for C#. Rather than just delving into something with C# specifically, are books on C#, and there are lots of them available, or anything on .NET, then I'd recommend you go and have a look at this website here, csharpcorner.com. It's pretty good because it has this focus on design in addition to just programming, and that would be nice. Right, let's see the code for the pattern. This is a lazy implementation of the singleton pattern in C#. The reason it's lazy is because it doesn't handle real-world contexts of running and executing a pattern in a threaded environment, for example. So here we have a single class. Here, you might not have seen this word sealed before, because in Java you'd have a different keyword, but this basically ensures that singleton can't be subclassed. We have a private constructor, and we create a class variable which is an instance of the class itself inside the class. And then, you know, if we have a get request, and really what this does is just gives us returns the instance. Okay, so it's very straightforward. Okay, I talked about thread safe. When we work with patterns implementations in real-world applications, these apps may have many process threads executing simultaneously. They're called multi-threaded applications. So we have to be concerned about what happens when lots of threads have access to shared data structures. So you learned about this kind of thing when you did your operating system. So we tend to have to modify our data models to make them thread safe. And there's a brilliant description of thread safety and using C# in another really excellent website on C# and C# Corner. So I'd recommend that. So thread safety is a technique that manipulates shared data structure in a manner that guarantees the safe execution of a piece of code by multiple threads at the same time. A code is called thread safe if it's been called from multiple threads concurrently without breaking any of the functionality. So you can have a look at C# Corner. So we can have a look then at the singleton description in C# Corner, and here's a final website that I recommend for your study, and .NET tricks. Okay, and this is really nice, and it gives you a great description of the singleton pattern as well. So here we have an example of using a singleton, and all it does is it creates a single instance that contains a name and an email, because these are not going to change, and a very simple object, and it includes all the information you might have on this making something thread safe. It's pretty good. I just made an adaptation myself of the one that's in the book or online, and here's how you implement it using a program.cs, and we can run it. So let's have a quick look at the program running. Visual Studio Code, I have it here. It's fine. Singleton. Here's my singleton pattern. Okay, it's there. You'll notice I copied it, and we can go down and run it here. So you can see I've run it already. I can go in here. We go in here and go. I can run my singleton. If I try to create an instance of that outside of the program, as you can see here, we should get an error. So it doesn't allow us to create this. And it doesn't allow me to do this. That error, it's inaccessible because of its protection level. So we designed the singleton class to ensure that it would only provide access. You know, we can have multiple access and multiple threads running and access it multiple times, and we'll always get the same information. So it's nice. The code's available in this document, which will be uploaded online. So that's our first example of a design pattern, a little bit more C# a little bit more about object-oriented design, and that will do us for now. And I'll see you next time. Thank you very much.